Picture this. Your sibling might be your best friend today, but your assassin tomorrow. This wasn't a fantasy novel, but the reality of the Ottoman Empire that reigned supreme over Europe and the Middle East for 400 years. While many laud its majestic rule, today we're peeling back the curtain to reveal the empire's darker, more sinister side. Welcome to Wild History. Fratricide. Families usually have each other's backs, but the Ottomans flipped the script. Instead of the eldest son becoming the next king, like in many places, it was like a high-stakes game. The one who survived would rule. Take Mehmet the Conqueror, for instance. He became famous for capturing the city of Constantinople, but there was a dark side to his win. He had to face off against his own uncle during the battle. And after he won, he made a brutal decision. Mehmet got rid of any family member who would challenge his throne, even a baby brother. This set a terrifying trend for future kings. Think about the weight of that choice, knowing that to wear the crown, you might have to harm your brothers and cousins. Still, many went through with it. A sad story is of Mehmet III. He felt terrible, but still chose to end the lives of his 18 brothers. The streets of Istanbul, the capital, were filled with sadness and loss. However, this didn't guarantee peace for the new sultan. Paranoid hunts for any remaining loyal relatives would continue, ensuring the sultan's reign wasn't threatened. But this era of ritualistic family slaughter eventually gave way to a new policy: incarcerate potential heirs instead of killing them. While this halted the immediate bloodshed, it traded one form of cruelty for another. Many of these princes were trapped in luxury, yet imprisoned, leading many to spiral into madness or depravity. Not an ideal start for future leaders of an empire. Life of a sultan. Alright, now that we've taken a peek into the downright morbid family reunions of the Ottoman Empire, let's shift our gaze upwards. I mean, all the way up to the big boss, the Sultan. You might believe that the pinnacle of power in the Ottoman Empire guaranteed opulence and ease. However, think again. Life in Topkapi was less about golden thrones and more about iron chains, just gilded in gold. While the grandeur of Topkapi was unparalleled, the atmosphere was stifling, almost claustrophobic. The mandate? Sultans were encouraged to embrace a monastic silence, speaking only when utterly necessary. But this wasn't solely out of reverence for their majestic role. Viziers, clergy, and other power players in the empire preferred a mute sultan, easier to manipulate and control. Imagine having the might of an empire, but communicating your royal decrees through an elaborate sign language, spending your day surrounded by a cacophony of whispers and gossip, where every person in your vicinity was vying for influence. Ahmed III's exasperation was so palpable that he'd sometimes force courtiers out just to dress in privacy. But even then, he'd have at least half a dozen watchful eyes on him. The harem. Now, speaking of the eyes of the Sultan, we must know what these eyes were constantly watching out for. Underneath the grandeur of the Ottoman Empire existed a world filled with intrigue, secrecy, and treacherous politics. Welcome to one of the most covert corners of the empire, the harem. Contrary to popular belief, the harem wasn't just a dwelling for the Sultan's wives and concubines, it was a power center. Managed primarily by the Sultan's mother, the harem was a fortress of women, each vying for the Sultan's attention and favor. And it wasn't just about romantic inclinations. The women who gained the Sultan's affection could exercise significant influence over the empire's administrative affairs, leading to what was known as the Sultanate of Women. During this period, the women of the harem practically ran the empire from behind their embroidered curtains. In a unique setup, only the Sultan and certain eunuchs were allowed within the harem's confines. These eunuchs were not mere servants. They played crucial roles as intermediaries between the harem and the outside world, often holding significant power and influence. Their unique position, trusted by the Sultan and the women of the harem, made them invaluable to the intricate politics of the palace. Concubines were introduced to the harem after stringent evaluations, and even after bearing a child, especially a male heir, they were prohibited from being intimate with the Sultan again. This was an arrangement orchestrated largely by the Sultan's mother to ensure no single woman wielded too much power over the Sultan or the empire. But life in the harem was no bed of roses. With multiple women trying to catch the Sultan's eye, jealousies ran high. Even when a woman did succeed in capturing the Sultan's affection, she had to be wary of the ever-watchful eyes of the Sultan's mother and the political machinations of the royal court. The harem's influence wasn't limited to just politics. They were trendsetters in fashion, art, and literature, creating a unique culture that blended the Ottoman with the European. However, despite its opulence and power, the harem was also a prison of golden walls, where the occupants were watched, judged, and often played in the cruel games of politics. Brutal punishments. Moving on, how can we forget one of the most favorite things of the Sultan? The punishments. One such punishment was the often brutal and bizarre execution methods. Beheadings, for instance, weren't just occasional, but disturbingly frequent. The first court of the Topkapi Palace prominently displayed two pillars where executioners would hang severed heads, almost like morbid trophies. And right next to these is a convenient fountain for the executioners to rinse off after doing their grisly work. Now, when you think of executioners, you'd probably imagine skilled professionals trained in the art of swift, merciful death. But the Ottomans? They had a peculiar choice. Gardeners, yes, the ones tending to the plants and flowers, were seen fit for the role. Perhaps the sultans believed there wasn't much difference between pruning roses and, well, removing heads. It wasn't really their gardening finesse that qualified them. It was the sheer strength and stature of the head gardeners that landed them this daunting task. In an even stranger twist, there emerged what can best be described as an execution sport involving the vizier and the head gardener. Picture this: a high-ranking official, the vizier, would be handed a drink. White sherbet meant mercy, but red, a death sentence. On seeing the red, the vizier would sprint toward the exit, navigating the intricate palace gardens, dodging trees, and hoping not to trip on tulip beds, all while the harem women watched, amused, from behind their grated windows. If the vizier reached the fish market gate before being caught by the robust head gardener, freedom awaited him. If not, his fate was sealed. While many viziers met their end in this twisted game, there are a rare few who beat the odds. Take Haji Salah Pasha, for example. He didn't just survive the deadly race, but went on to become a provincial governor, celebrated by both the Sultan and his court. To an outsider, these practices might sound eerily macabre, but within the confines of the Ottoman Empire, they were just another day in life.